right now, your brain is probably burning more calories just trying to decide which of your 20 open browser tabs to look at next, rather than, actually solving a complex math equation.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that is just the standard way we all operate now.
It really is. So just think about your current digital setup for a second. You are probably listening to this deep dive right now, but are you also trying to reply to a quick text message?
Or maybe scanning an email.
Right. Or you have a video playing on mute in the background. If your digital life feels like, well, a chaotic circus right now, I just want to say you are definitely not alone.
No, not at all. It's essentially the default setting for how we live and work today. We kind of treat busyness like a badge of honor.
Yeah, we really do. We pack our screens with as much information as possible because we think it makes us highly efficient.
But it doesn't.
Exactly. So, welcome to your custom deep dive. Today we're exploring a really fascinating concept from our sources called the magic of monotasking.
It's such a great topic.
It is. And our mission today is to gently peel back the sugarcoating of this modern obsession with high efficiency. We want to validate that heavy, just intense exhaustion you might be feeling at the end of the day.
Even on days when you feel like you didn't actually get much done.
Yes, because we're going to use science to uncover a much more peaceful, focused way to work and live. And we'll keep things clear and steady as we go through this so we can really absorb it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because that feeling of being completely drained by 5 o'clock, it isn't a personal failure.
It's not.
No, it's actually a direct biological response to how we are treating our own neurology.
Well, I know my own phone is constantly buzzing, and I always have this underlying urge to answer right away. It is so exhausting. Let's start by looking at that daily reality, the 20 open tabs, the constant notifications.
Right.
Why does this specific setup make us feel so incredibly tired? I'll spend a whole day bouncing between emails, chats, and small tasks, and I feel more exhausted than if I had spent the day hiking a mountain.
Yeah, to understand that exhaustion, we really have to look at the actual mechanics of the human brain. Specifically, a region called the prefrontal cortex.
Okay, the prefrontal cortex.
Right. So we're taught to believe that we can do multiple things at the exact same time. We call this multitasking. But neurologically speaking, what we call multitasking is it's a total myth.
Wait, a myth. So the brain isn't actually processing two things at once. Because if I'm writing an email and talking on the phone, I really feel like I'm doing both.
You feel like you are, sure, but you're not. The human brain's attention system is essentially single track.
Single track? Okay.
Yeah, think of your conscious attention like a very narrow spotlight. It can only shine on one complex thought at a time.
Oh, I see.
So when you think you're multitasking, what your brain is actually doing is frantically switching that spotlight back and forth between different tasks.
Wow.
You read a word of the email, the spotlight switches to the phone conversation, then the spotlight switches back to the email.
So it's not simultaneous. If I'm jumping from an email to a text message, my brain is essentially hitting the brakes on one thought and then hitting the gas on another thought, just over and over again.
That is exactly what is happening.
It's like driving a car in heavy stop-and-go traffic. I mean, even if I only drive a few miles down the road, if I'm constantly hitting the gas pedal, then slamming on the brakes, then hitting the gas again, it just burns through all the fuel in the tank.
Yes, exactly.
It leaves the car's engine completely exhausted.
That stop-and-go traffic is exactly what's happening in your neural pathways. And in cognitive science, this constant stopping and starting actually has a specific name.
Oh, what is it?
It's called the attention switching cost.
The attention switching cost? That sounds like a hidden fee they charge you at the bank or something.
Well, it operates very much like a hidden fee, but you pay it with your mental energy, specifically with glucose in your brain.
Oh, wow. So actual physical energy.
Right. Let's break down the mechanism of how this fee is charged.
Yeah.
Every single time you shift your attention from, say, an email to a text message, your brain has to perform a really complex operation.
Okay, what does it do?
It has to take the rules and the context of the email. So who you are writing to, what the tone is, what information you need, and pack all of that away into your temporary memory.
Okay.
Then it has to pull up the new context for the text message. It has to orient itself to this entirely new environment.
I see. So it's not just looking away. It is literally unloading one software program and loading up another one in my head.
Yes. And that loading and unloading, well, it takes a fraction of a second, but it burns a significant amount of invisible energy.
That makes so much sense.
And now multiply that process. We often switch tasks hundreds of times an hour without even realizing it.
Like just a quick glance at a phone.
Right. A glance at a phone, a pop-up notification on the screen, even just a sudden thought about what's for dinner. This constant switching leads to what researchers call cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload.
Yeah, your brain simply has too much context to shuffle around.
So the brain is just working overtime trying to keep all these different software programs running. That definitely explains the physical tiredness.
It really does.
But the sources also mentioned that this overload creates anxiety. How does bouncing between computer tabs make us anxious?
It comes down to how our nervous system interprets that cognitive overload. When your brain is working that hard just to manage the switching, it signals to your body that you are in a high-demand, potentially threatening environment.
A threatening environment just from browser tabs.
Yes, because your brain cannot tell the difference between the stress of managing 30 browser tabs and the stress of trying to survive in the wild.
Oh, wow.
It just registers that there's way too much happening at once. So this activates your sympathetic nervous system. That's your fight or flight response.
I've heard of that.
Right. And because of that, you get a constant low-level release of stress hormones.
Which perfectly explains that tired but wired feeling at the end of the day. Like you are exhausted from paying the attention switching cost, but you are anxious because your fight or flight system is just buzzing.
Exactly. You are forcing your brain to run in a way it was never biologically designed to run. It's just trying to survive a digital avalanche.
Okay, so if that constant rapid switching is what's draining our batteries and spiking our stress, there has to be a biological opposite, right?
There is.
What happens when we stay in just one mental gear? Like, what does a brain look like when it fully immerses itself in just one single thing?
This is where we find the real beauty of the single-track mindset. But sometimes when people hear the word monotasking or single-tasking, they hesitate.
Yeah, I get that.
They think it sounds slow, or maybe like an outdated way of working from before we had the internet.
Right, like we're suddenly supposed to use a heavy old typewriter and just ignore the modern world entirely.
Exactly. But the sources we're reviewing, they reframe this concept in a really wonderful way. They argue that the single-track mindset isn't an outdated working style at all.
What is it then?
Rather, it is a deep affection for the present moment.
A deep affection for the present moment. I really, really like that framing. It turns focus into a form of care.
It does. There's a great metaphor in the text to help visualize this too. Doing one thing at a time is like gathering all your light and focusing it perfectly through a magnifying glass.
Oh, like when you're a kid trying to catch the sun?
Right. When light is scattered in a dozen different directions, it just gently warms the ground. It doesn't really leave much of an impact. But when you gather all those scattered beams and focus them through a single lens onto one tiny spot, it becomes incredibly powerful. It creates fire.
So when we stop scattering our attention across 20 tabs and we focus all of our mental light on one single thing, we're trying to create that fire.
Yes.
We enter a very specific mental state, don't we?
We do. In psychology, this highly focused state is known as flow.
I've heard the term flow used a lot, but usually by professional athletes or artists. What does it actually mean for everyday people?
Well, flow is just a state of deep, effortless immersion. It happens when you are so totally focused on the one thing in front of you that your self-consciousness actually fades away.
You just kind of lose yourself in it.
Exactly. You lose track of time, you forget to check your phone, you forget about your lingering worries, and when you finally emerge from that state, you experience a really profound sense of satisfaction and calm.
Our sources actually give some really beautiful sensory examples of this that I want to share with you, our listener, because it helps paint a picture of what flow looks like in a normal daily routine.
Yes, the examples are great.
Imagine you are cooking dinner. Usually you might prop your phone up and watch a fast-paced video while you chop vegetables, right? You're barely looking at the food.
I am definitely guilty of that.
Me too. But if you practice monotasking, you put the phone away. You look only at your ingredients. You notice the deep, bright red color of the tomatoes. You hear the crisp sound of the knife hitting the cutting board. You smell the sharp, spicy scent of the garlic as it hits the warm oil in the pan. Your entire world is just cooking.
And that intense presence, that is the doorway to flow.
Another example from the text is listening to music. Not just having a playlist on as background noise while you clean the house or answer emails, but really listening.
Right, active listening.
Yeah, you sit down in a comfortable chair, you close your eyes, and you give the music your full attention. You start to hear the slight separation of the instruments or the actual breath of the singer.
It changes the whole experience.
Or think about writing. You turn off your Wi-Fi, you close every other window on your computer, and just listen to the quiet sound of your fingers softly tapping the keyboard.
Notice how all of those examples involve a very high level of sensory richness. You are tasting, smelling, and hearing with so much more depth.
Because you aren't distracted.
Right. And there's a massive biological benefit to letting your brain process one rich sensory experience at a time.
Okay, let's dig into that biology. What is physically happening in the body when we focus on just the smell of the garlic or just the sound of the music?
Well, earlier we talked about how multi-track overload triggers the fight or flight response.
Right, stress.
When you monotask, the exact opposite happens. Your brain realizes it doesn't have to juggle a million potential threats or tasks. It thinks, all we have to do right now is chop this carrot.
Right.
We are safe.
Wow, we're safe.
And that feeling of safety activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's rest and digest mode. As a result, your body's main stress hormone, cortisol, drops significantly.
Wait, really? So the stress hormone goes down just from the act of paying attention to one thing?
Yes.
So focus itself is a biological stress reliever.
It is. The brain relaxes because it finally has a clear, singular direction. The spotlight of your attention isn't frantic anymore, it's steady.
Okay, I love this, but let me push back on this a little bit on behalf of our modern, overstimulated brains.
Sure, go ahead.
Our brains are incredibly used to constant entertainment. We're trained to expect bright colors, fast-moving videos, endless scrolling that gives us a quick hit of dopamine every few seconds.
That is very true.
Doesn't monotasking sound, well, a little boring at first? If I just sit and listen to an album without looking at my phone, isn't my brain going to complain?
That's a very realistic concern, and honestly, the short answer is yes. For the first few minutes, your brain will absolutely complain.
It's going to throw a tantrum.
It'll feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You can think of it like coming off a sugar high.
Ah, okay.
Your brain is used to the cheap, fast energy of rapid task switching. It expects that constant drip of shallow distraction. So sitting quietly with one task feels like eating a plain vegetable when you're used to eating candy.
So how do we get past that discomfort? Because the urge to grab the phone when I feel bored is so strong.
What's fascinating about the flow state is that the boredom is temporary. It's just a barrier to entry.
A barrier to entry, okay.
Yeah, once you push past those first 5 or 10 minutes of discomfort, your brain actually settles into the task. And the intense sensory richness of flow, like really smelling that coffee, really feeling the rhythm of the music, it creates a deep emotional release.
Wow.
It provides a type of nourishment that the cheap, fast distractions simply cannot offer. You trade that frantic, anxious energy for a very calm, powerful energy.
I really love that visual. Trading anxious energy for calm, powerful energy. So understanding the beauty of flow and the biology of a single-track mind is great in theory.
Yes.
But we have to be practical here. How do we actually achieve this when our phones are constantly buzzing, our emails are piling up, and our jobs demand our attention? We can't just ignore the world all day.
We can't, and we shouldn't. This is where we transition from the philosophy of single tasking into highly practical, gentle, everyday steps.
Okay, I am ready for the steps.
We need to build what the sources call your personal low-frequency focus zone.
A low-frequency focus zone. I'm picturing like a quiet spot for my brain. How do we build one?
The most important foundational rule here is that you do not need to make drastic, radical changes to your life. You don't need to throw your smartphone in the river or move to a remote cabin in the woods.
That is a relief because I definitely still need my Maps app to find my way to the grocery store.
Right. We want to integrate this into a normal, modern life. Single tasking can be achieved through small, highly intentional steps. The very first step is establishing what the authors call microphysical rituals.
Microphysical rituals. That sounds a bit technical. What does that actually look like in practice?
It just means creating a specific physical action that signals to your brain, okay, it is time to transition into single-track mode. Think of it as a warm-up routine.
Oh, like stretching before you go for a run to tell your muscles it's time to work?
That is a perfect comparison. For example, before you sit down to work on an important project, you might take 2 minutes to physically clear off your messy desk.
Okay.
You pick up the empty coffee cups, you throw away the sticky notes you no longer need, and you just wipe down the surface.
That just sounds like basic cleaning. How does that help with brain focus?
It comes back to how the brain processes information. Your brain's visual cortex is constantly scanning your environment.
Even when I'm looking at my computer?
Yes. Even if you aren't actively looking at the empty coffee cup or the stack of bills on your desk, your brain is still processing them in the background.
Wow, I had no idea.
And that visual clutter competes for your neural bandwidth. Your brain actually has to spend energy ignoring those items.
That is wild.
So by physically clearing the desk, you are literally freeing up brain power. The ritual of cleaning tells your brain we are removing the noise so we can focus.
That makes so much sense. I never realized my brain was wasting energy just looking at my own garbage. What's another example of a micro-physical ritual?
Putting on a pair of headphones, even if you don't play any music at all. The physical act of placing noise-canceling headphones over your ears serves as a boundary.
It's a physical signal.
Exactly. You're physically shutting out the external world. It's a cue to your nervous system that you are entering a protected space.
Okay, so we've cleared our visual field, we've put on our headphones, we've set the stage. What is the next step to maintain this focus zone?
The next step is establishing gentle time boundaries. A big reason people fail at monotasking is that they set unrealistic expectations.
Like trying to do too much at once.
Yes, they tell themselves, I'm going to put my phone away and focus on this report for 4 hours straight.
Oh my gosh, 4 hours sounds like torture. I'd be thinking about my phone the entire time.
Exactly. That creates immense pressure. And when they inevitably get distracted, they feel like they failed. Instead, the sources suggest a low-pressure, modified version of the Pomodoro technique.
The Pomodoro technique, that's the timer one, right?
Yes. Usually, Pomodoro involves 25 minutes of work and a 5-minute break. But we want to make it even gentler to start. Try setting a 20-minute quiet period. Just 20 minutes.
Just 20 minutes. That feels much more doable. It doesn't sound scary.
It really lowers the psychological barrier. You take your phone and you place it physically out of reach, or at least face down on the desk so you cannot see the screen light up.
Right.
And for those 20 minutes, you make an agreement with yourself. The entire world consists only of the one single task in front of you.
So you're basically telling your anxious brain, don't panic, we can check all our messages and scroll through our feeds in just 20 minutes. But right now, we're just doing this one thing.
Precisely. By giving the brain a specific end time, it can relax. It knows it won't be disconnected forever.
But what about the technology itself? Even if my phone is face down, if it vibrates or beeps, my focus is immediately broken. The spotlight just instantly moves to the phone.
Which brings us to the third step, conducting a practical digital detox. Now, again, this does not mean isolating yourself. You don't have to delete your favorite apps or disconnect from your friends.
Good, because I enjoy my apps. I just want them to stop yelling at me.
A practical digital detox is simply about turning off non-essential notifications. You go into your phone and computer settings, and you disable the alerts for social media, news alerts, shopping apps, and even certain group chats.
So the phone isn't just vibrating in your pocket every 3 minutes.
Exactly. The core philosophy here is shifting from reactive attention to proactive attention.
Reactive to proactive.
You want to be the boss of your own time. When notifications are on, the phone is dragging your attention around. You want to be the one who decides, I'm going to open my email app now because I'm ready to check it, rather than letting an email interrupt your focus at random points throughout the hour.
I see. You know, if we look at all of these steps, clearing the desk, setting a short 20-minute timer, turning off the beeps, the overarching theme I'm seeing in these sources is self-compassion.
Yes, absolutely.
It's about being kind to your own mind. It means you don't have to be a perfect monk with perfect concentration. If you try to do the 20-minute quiet period, and after 7 minutes you catch yourself daydreaming or reaching for your phone, well, it's okay.
It is completely normal. Your brain has been conditioned for years to seek out distractions. You are trying to build a completely new neural pathway.
It's just about taking it one small step at a time. You notice that your attention drifted, you don't get angry with yourself, you just smile, put the phone back down, and gently bring your focus back to the task. It's a practice.
I like to compare it to training a new puppy.
Oh, a puppy.
Yeah. When a puppy wanders out of the yard, you don't scream at it or call it a failure. You just gently pick it up and place it back where it's supposed to be.
Oh, that's true.
Over time, it learns to stay. You have to treat your own attention with that same gentle, patient guidance.
Treating our attention like a puppy. I think that's a really beautiful way to look at it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's look back at the ground we've covered today for our listener. We started by unmasking the exhausting myth of multitasking.
Yes, we did.
We learned about the attention switching cost, how our brains don't actually do two things at once, but rather frantically switch that spotlight back and forth, burning up all our mental glucose and triggering a low-level fight-or-flight anxiety.
And from there, we explored the biological cure, the single-track mind. We learned that focusing on one thing at a time activates our rest and digest system, lowering cortisol and allowing us to enter flow. It transforms scattered light into a powerful, focused fire.
And finally, we discussed how to build a low-frequency focus zone in our real, messy lives. We learned that by using gentle microphysical rituals like cleaning away visual clutter and setting low-pressure 20-minute boundaries, we can slowly train our brains to enjoy monotasking without feeling overwhelmed.
It is a fundamental shift in how we operate. It's moving away from chaotic efficiency and moving toward calm, intentional presence.
It truly is. Now, before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, something you can test out in your own life today.
Oh, curious.
Throughout this deep dive, the sources talked about applying monotasking to our work or to solitary hobbies like cooking or writing. They defined focus as a deep affection for the present moment.
Right.
But what if we took this concept out of the office and applied a single-track mind to our relationships?
Oh, wow.
Think about how often we multitask while talking to the people we care about. We nod along to a story while checking a text, or we think about our grocery list while sitting at dinner.
It happens all the time.
What would happen if, the next time you sat down with a friend, your partner, or a family member, you treated them as your absolute only focus? No phone on the table, no mental switching to your to-do list.
Just being there.
Just total undivided immersion in their presence, the same way you would listen to a beautiful piece of music. How might that completely change the depth of your connection? If focus truly is a deep affection for the present moment, maybe giving someone your undivided single-track attention is the purest form of love you can offer.